So in this video we're going to finish the portrait off by painting all of the other details like the hair and the clothes and any finer details on the face. So I'm starting off with a hair colour and just wetting my watercolours again. So I'm going to be using these three colours to make brown. So starting with the orange, red, yellow and mixing in some black to make my brown. Starting off with quite a light brown and I'm going to build up layers. So this isn't as dark as it will end up. So if you notice that the way I'm painting is I'm trying to paint in the direction that the hair grows. So because this person has got straight hair and obviously it grows from the crown of the head, I'm going to bring all of my brush movements in that direction, either from top to bottom or bottom to top, not going across. So just painting in the direction of the hair growth. And I'm doing one layer of this light brown colour and trying to keep the fringe in little brush strokes. So you can see I'm making little brush strokes at the fringe. And then I'm going to leave a little highlight on the hair because it won't, you can see where on the photo it's slightly lighter on one side. So I'm just not going to paint that completely brown. So I've mixed a bit of black into my brown to make it a darker brown, and now I'm going to go in with the second layer and I'm just really darkening up where the darkest bits of the hair are. So you'll see how I do that. So just obviously looking at the photograph and making sure that I'm trying to, where it's dark, I'm painting another darker layer. Again, trying to avoid the highlight that I've left white for the moment. And again, using the same sort of brush marks to show the way that the hair grows. Here I've just taken a little bit of water and I'm just blending the paint on top of the white. So I'm just dragging that colour down into the white, just so that we've still got a highlight, but it's a little bit of a softer browner highlight. Okay, so just painting in that fringe a little bit more. Okay, so next I'm going to go in for the eyebrow. Now the eyebrow, I'm using a thin paintbrush and I'm painting in the individual hairs. So if you're not confident to do this year 7, just practice on a bit of paper first. We don't want any massive big solid eyebrows because eyebrows are made of individual hairs, aren't they? Okay, so just painting both of them in. And then I'm still using this darker colour, and there are a couple of little like not wrinkles, but where he's crinkling his nose up, I'm just putting those lines in. And also using the darker colour to just make the nostrils a little bit darker too. And then the neck area, if you look at the photo, is much darker than the face. So I'm just going to take this brown colour again, and I'm just going to use this as my shadow colour. So I'm taking the big brush with some water on it and just soften that, and then using it to paint the holes in the ears. And now another layer of this colour. Once the hair's dried, I'm going in with a third layer of this brown, which will darken up only where I'm putting the brush marks. So I'm using nice fine lines to try to show that the hair is not solid, it's made up of strands. So we're just trying to get those little lines into the hair. Okay, the next thing I'm doing is I'm using this cool red and black, and I'm going to use these two to make my maroon for the blazer. So picking up a decent amount of both and just mixing both colours in until I'm happy I've got the right colour. So it's all trial and error. Then taking my big brush, and again, because this paint is transparent, you've got to be very careful that you don't use too many sort of scratchy brush marks. You want to keep your brush marks quite smooth. It's not easy with this paint. Okay, so I've got one layer for the blazer lapels. Just going to paint the whole of the blazer in the same way first of all. Okay, and then I'm mixing a little bit of black into my blazer colour and getting sort of more of a dark maroon just to make that blazer lapel shadow. You can't really see it on the photo, but you'll be able to see it on your photos. So just where it's slightly darker on the blazer, I'm just giving it a little bit of depth by adding another layer on top, just to make it look more three-dimensional. Then using the blazer colour again for the tie, the maroon, just putting that in. And leaving the bits for the white and the blue on the tie. Okay, and here I'm mixing a grey because if you have a look at the shirt has a shadow. So I'm putting that shadow in. First of all, I'm just putting the colour on, the grey, and then getting a little bit of water to soften the edge of the shadow. Adding a bit of black into that grey, and now looking at the shadow under the collar, which is a lot darker grey. Putting the colour on, getting a bit of water and softening that shadow out so it blends. Doing the same thing on the other side where the shadow on the other colour is, and it's more of a bluey grey, so I've added some blue into my colour. I've put the colour on, I've softened it out, and I've done the same on the other side. And the last little bit on the tie is to paint in the tie colour. So this is more or less here, but I think we could still go a tiny bit darker on the hair. So I'm just going to use some watered down black, so it's more like a grey, a thin layer of like a blacky grey. I'm just putting the final depth, the final tone onto the hair, just to give it a little bit more realism, to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Mixing a little bit more dark brown. Just putting the final touches on. And then I'll get a little bit of water and I'll just soften those lines out slightly with a tiny bit of water. And just softening those lines out so it all comes together a little bit more. And there we go, quite happy with that. Okay, so that's the portrait painted. You saw that I did it in stages, which is how we'll be doing it in class. And yeah, we're going to have a go at this. So watch this first so you know what we're going to be doing, and we'll see how yours turns out.